New York City during Donald Trump 2.0, from immigration to congestion pricing and more. The Point starts right now. Ann Williams-Isom is New York City's Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services. Fabian Levy is the Deputy Mayor for Communications. And they are both marathon runners, and they completed it and have medals, but we'll talk about that later. What I'd like to talk to you about is immigration. Nothing has ignited fear more in the immigrant community than the threat of possible deportation. I'd like you both to talk to me about what's real, what's not real, and what they can expect from New York City.
I'm really glad that that's where we're starting, Marcia, because I do think my heart breaks when I think about families and children who are anxious and fearful now about what's going to happen. I want to tell people that this is a thriving city because of the immigrants that are here, and we are a sanctuary city, and the mayor has said very clearly that we want to protect people and care for them as we have been for many, many years, including the over 200,000 migrants who have come over the past year and a half. We want people they have a right to services, medical services, coming to school, making sure that they're getting protected. And so we don't want people to go underground and not seek the services that they need, and to know that New York City will continue to be a place that protects them.
Pippin, but what protections is New York City going to offer them?
So let me first say that New York City, just like this country, is a city of immigrants. It's always going to be that. And the mayor has been very clear. He's not supporting any kind of mass deportation. But we should also be clear about what happened last week. There was an election, and the people spoke very clearly, and they said that they wanted change to our immigration system, and especially at the border. And so it's been 40 years, and we've done really nothing on immigration reform at the federal level. And so what we need to do is put the labels aside and actually come together and come up with a solution. But to protect them, like you're saying, specifically, look, we have a Office of Immigrant Affairs that reports actually to Deputy Mayor Ann. And their job every single day is to work with immigrants, undocumented, asylum seekers, different groups of people, and make sure they know all the rights that they have, all the protections. And specifically here in New York City, we are a sanctuary city. We have sanctuary city laws. That's not going to change no matter who's in the White House or who controls Congress. And so, we're going to make sure we follow the law. Of course, we're always going to do that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't look at the results of the election last week and think about how we can still better our immigration system.
I guess the question people are asking is, will the mayor of the city of New York have a better opportunity with a new White House in terms of getting some concerns about what happens in the border? Because there seemed to be a lack of sympathy on the part of the Biden White House for the problems that New York City was going through.
Well, the way that I'll say that is that when we have seen the census going down, and that is a direct result of what the Harris-Biden White House has done in terms of the action that they've taken at the border. So I think that we have seen that the White House has been responsive to the needs that we have. I think the fact that immigration reform has been kind of in disarray for the past 40 years is no secret to anyone. And I do think that we should be focusing on that. My job as the Deputy Mayor of Health and Human Services is to care for people. That is what we've been doing for the past 2.5 years. That is what we're going to continue to do. And that's what the mayor has asked us to do.
So you have different kinds of immigrants in New York City. You have the asylum seekers who've come in, and we know that there's been over 200,000 of them. But there are also immigrants who have been living here for quite some time who do not have who may have green cards or may not have green cards. There's fear among that community as well, and I wonder if there's anything that you could say to them about what they can expect, because they're worried about ICE agents coming and knocking down their door, what's going to happen, because they may have worked here for 10 years, but they don't have a green card.
I think it's an issue, and we say that there are populations where maybe a dad has a particular status and a mom has a different status. I think again, we're a sanctuary city, and so that means that we are going to protect people, and people have rights. I've been very proud for the recent migrants that have come in. We've done over 81,000 applications for people to make sure that they're applying for their temporary protective status, that they're applying for work authorization, because that's what people want. So we're going to do the best that we can to make sure that people are applying for their status, and so that they're here in the way that they should be, and that we're not letting people get bullied or fear-mongering in the way that we see is happening.
And Marcia, if I go back to what I started with. Look, this is a city of immigrants and a nation of immigrants. My parents, they came here. They're immigrants. They came here at a shot at the American dream. Lots of people in our administration, their families are immigrants and came here for the exact same reason. And so we're always going to be true to those values and be a beacon of freedom for all.
So under the former mayor, Mayor de Blasio, there was sort of like a non-cooperation agreement of sorts that they were not going to cooperate with federal immigration agents, ICE agents. I wonder if you expect that to change and there will be some cooperation in terms of what actions they can do in New York City with the cooperation of the city.
I think the mayor says we're going to abide by the law, and that's what we're going to do. And I don't think we would be prepared to say that we are cooperating, not cooperating. We're going to make sure that we are abiding by the law. I think there are probably people who are not abiding by the law in the way that they should be, and the mayor has always said that that's separate. The rules right now are if there is someone that we know that has been involved in criminal activity, the police can pursue that person, but what we're talking about is people who are here, they're good abiding people, they're not doing anything, not breaking any laws. Those are the people that we're going to make sure that we're protecting.
You know, one of the things that I think was an issue during the campaign was the fact that the president-elect talked about the people who were here who were committing crimes. He talked about Venezuelan street gangs. He talked about other people. I wonder if those people who, I mean, there have been stories in our local papers about people who have done bad things. The question is, will they receive the same protections, or will they have to face the music, and should they be deported?
I think, go ahead, you go.
So look, the law right now doesn't differentiate between the two groups. That being said, the mayor has been clear that he thinks that we should be making, you know, the city council working in partnership should be making changes so those that are violent repeat offenders are treated a little bit differently. Because if you came here, if you're a mom who's working and, you know, trying to support your family, no, we don't want you to ever even fear of being deported. But the people that are the individuals, which is a very small group of people, let me be very clear about, that are breaking the law, just like any New Yorker, longtime New Yorker would break the law, they should be held accountable. And, you know, it's like the mayor says, it's a privilege to live in this city. It is. It's the greatest city in the world. And so we just want to make sure that people are being law-abiding.
I think that makes sense. I think everybody understands if you break the law, you're not right. You're not supposed to break the law, and you have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the contribution that the immigrant community has been making to New York City, and, you know, in terms of the jobs that they fill and the amount of money they contribute to the city's economy with taxes and purchasing goods and services? Because I think that that's sort of gotten lost in the shuffle, that they make such amazing contributions to the city.
I think, especially here, and New Yorkers understand that, I think about even not just in the food industry, I think about in the medical industry, and nurses and doctors, and there's so many people who have come from other places here in New York City who are law-abiding, contribute to the economy. Don't think that we would have the vibrant economy that we have right now without them. They are in school with our children. We worship with them in our, you know, in our synagogues, in our churches, and our mosque. And so I think New York, I think we understand what's happening. I do think that the migrant crisis of the past 2.5 years has weighed heavy on us. And I think that weighing heavy on us is much different than saying mass deportation for immigrants.
And to that point, DM, it's that, you know, there's 220,000 plus asylum seekers that have come to our city in the last 2.5 years. A lot of them have still not been given the ability to work, the work authorization by the federal government. And to the point that you just made, you know, they want to contribute to our society and give back. And not only, you know, have a job, but also contribute to our tax base.
That's right.
If every one of them that's eligible, you know, adults obviously we're talking about, are able to work, that's increasing our tax base. That's more money going towards our parks and to our schools and to our public health system and all the different things that bring, you know, that support the city of New York.
So the only thing I want to say is over 200 have come into our system, but probably much more of that have come into New York City. So everybody who has come here has not come into the Department of Homeless Services system. So
basically what you're saying is you want the federal government to speed up the work permit process.
Absolutely.
Because you want to have more of them working.
We've been saying that from the very beginning. I think if you look back,
maybe they'll hear you now.
I think the migrants that have come in also are saying that.
That's exactly right.
Because I've been to the border with the mayor, and I've been to the shelters here in New York, and the first question he always asks is, who here wants to work? And the hands shoot up every single time.
And I'm going to raise my hand and say we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. Manhattan State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel is chair of the Judiciary Committee and a very powerful voice in Albany. I want to start by just asking you a quick question about the decision by the president-elect to name a new person to head the Southern District in New York, which has the investigations of the mayor and members of his administration. Do you think that given the sympathy that the president-elect has expressed for the mayor, do you think that there's going to be any change in terms of the indictment, the investigation, not only of Mayor Adams, but of members of his administration?
Well, I think that has been signaled with the choices that the president-elect has made already. The biggest concern I have, though, is the assumed appointment of Matt Gaetz as U.S. Attorney General, somebody who is the subject himself of an investigation by the Department of Justice, will now be leading that agency.
Do you think he's going to get confirmed?
I sure hope not. I mean, I hope the Senate has the backbone and independence and shows their constitutional responsibility to reject appointments that, frankly, don't pass the laugh test in the case of Matt Gaetz.
So let's talk about congestion pricing. The governor has decided to revive congestion pricing, and it's supposed to start in early January. Do you think that there's a chance that the president-elect of the United States will try to kill it?
I think there is that chance, no doubt. I mean, nobody knows, nobody can predict what the incoming president will do. He's expressed you know, his disdain for the program, although I would argue that his most recent comments, you know, were slightly more supportive, if you might read it that way, in the sense that he didn't say he was going to kill it on day one. That said, he would do irreparable harm to New Yorkers. He'd do harm to people in the entire region. Look, we spend 100 hours a year in congestion if you're driving in the city of New York, and it costs our economy $20 billion a year on top of that. I'm hopeful that those are arguments that might persuade the incoming president to stand by and let New York do what it needs to do to both clean our air, improve our economy, and support our mass transit system.
So, but do you think that he's going to be pressured by some of the Republican congressmen from our area who have expressed absolute opposition, from Nicole Maliotakis to Mike Lawler and the congressman from Long Island? I mean, they really have expressed opposition, and some Democrats, in fact, have joined in that, including Pat Ryan of upstate. So the question is he going to feel pressure from those people to do something for the people who are supporting him? And that, is it a loyalty thing, like, I'll do one thing for you if you do something for me?
That may be likely, but if they're going to try to kill congestion pricing, they better come up with the $15 billion that we need to fill the hole that was created by the program and by the fact that our mass transit system is deteriorating so rapidly. We need a modernized signal system. We need dozens more accessible stations. We need to extend the 2nd Avenue subway. That takes money, Marcia, and unless Mike Lawler and company are going to come up with those funds, you're going to see mass transit continue to falter and congestion continue to increase. We are the top congested city in the entire world. We used to be 4. And this year, we have now taken the crown as #1 congested city.
Do you think it's because congestion pricing has taken so long to take effect, or is it just that there seems to be more vehicles on the street because of Uber and Lyft and all the other for-hire vehicles that seem to be clogging our streets?
Well, I would agree that the for-hire vehicles are part of the problem. But also part of the problem is when you don't have a reliable transit system, people opt to take their vehicles into the central business district. We have to change that paradigm, as it was changed in cities like London and Singapore and Stockholm, where congestion pricing, once enacted, became very popular among their citizenry. So I would urge the Republicans and fellow Democrats who oppose it, give us a chance to see if it works. Let's fix our mass transit system. Let's reap the benefits of cleaner air and safer streets. You know, there have been 15 children killed already this year in car crashes. That's the second most since we started counting the numbers when Vision Zero began.
So you say give us a chance to see if it works. What if it doesn't work? What happens then?
Well, the great thing about congestion pricing is you can change it. It's not written in stone. You can raise the fee, you can lower it, and you know what? You could provide more exemptions. You can change the hours. So it is, in effect, a dynamic pricing system, and that's what's happened in cities like London, and that's why I think it's been so popular. It increases efficiency of deliveries that will happen at night, not during the daytime to further clog our streets and create gridlock.
So I think we have to talk about the fact that the subway system is 120 years old. And one of the things that people may not pay attention to is the fact that our subway stations are limited to the number of cars they can have because they were built 120 years ago. So some stations can have 10 cars, some can have 8 cars. But if you want to have more service, you have to have the trains run closer together. And to do that, you need...
Well, new cars
and new signaling
and new signals, both of which are antiquated. You know, we have orders for new cars that we can't fulfill because we were depending on congestion pricing. I voted for that bill in 2019. I'm glad the governor has finally given the green light 5 years later, but we also have electric buses on order. Right now, I've been told that the bus orders are actually being put behind other municipalities, other cities and states that have ordered electric buses. There's only one electric bus producer in the entire nation.
Wow.
So we have to get online and get in line so we can order those electric buses. Bus service will improve under congestion pricing as well. That's a very important feature that I think some New Yorkers don't know.
So the other thing, though, when you talk about buses, it brings to mind the fact that there's fare evasion, not only on the buses, but fare evasion on the subways, and it amounts to $700 million a year. So a lot of people who are angry about congestion pricing say, why do we try to raise money from congestion pricing when there's $700 million in uncollected fares? And drivers say, why should we pay when people aren't paying to take the subway? So don't you think something should be done about that? I
certainly agree. I mean, I'm outraged. I saw a woman the other day jumping over the turnstile carrying a Gucci purse. And, you know, I wanted to make a citizen's arrest on the spot, but she jumped into the subway car. It is unacceptable. And I'm glad that the MTA is going to be placing new saloon-style doors at subway stations. We need to crack down also on subway fare evasion, not just on the subways, but also on our buses, too. I mean, the buses are not free, but unfortunately, a large segment of our population seem not to care. Talk about free riders. Those are the ultimate free riders, and the rest of us have to pay. So it isn't fair. But back to the drivers themselves, you know, that's 10% of people who come into the central business take cars. The 90% of us, mostly working class New Yorkers, take the subway. We deserve to have an efficient subway system that is reliable.
And we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but we'll be right back. Thank you for joining me. The Big Apple is a city of immigrants with a recent influx of tens of thousands of asylum seekers. It's costing taxpayers a pretty penny, but New Yorkers think they should be deported. They're weighing in on your point. How do you feel about Donald Trump's mass deportation plans?
Mass deportation plan? I think it's a crazy idea that he's going to mass deport, what, 15 million immigrants?
It's kind of scary.
Pretty awful. It's horrendous. He has a point.
That's a terrible idea.
I think it's unfair. It should go to the court system.
I worry about how it's going to be executed.
Oh my God, are you kidding? It's horrible.
I'm a migrant, but I came here legally. I pay taxes. I've been paying taxes for 6 years. I believe if you came to the right thing in the right way, let's stay in the country. If you're coming in the wrong way, you will have to face whatever consequences of the wrong way is.
Do you think he'll actually follow through and deport millions of immigrants?
No, absolutely not.
Probably, yeah.
50-50.
He's not going to do that.
He'll try, and I think he'll do a lot of damage in the meantime.
No.
Why not?
It costs too much money.
The logistics wouldn't work.
Normally he does what he says. That's what people is believing in him.
But I think he's going to go ahead with it. Enough to show people that he's following through on his promise.
If he does that, he's going to get rid of the kids and their families and everyone else. It doesn't make sense.
So do you think he's going to go through with it?
Well, Marco Rubio was interviewed, and he actually spoke like a human being. And he said, oh, no, we're only thinking about felons and people who murdered people, which was what Obama did.
How do you think it would affect New York City?
Not so much.
I think it would cripple our economy.
How can we thrive in New York City without all of those workers that we depend on?
I think people be swept up that don't need to be swept up.
I think it will make us safe.
I can't tell, but I think that if he goes after people who have been residents here for years, it's going to have a disruption.
There's a lot of Latinos in this community. You know what I mean? And they're going to go around just picking up people. You know, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know, but I think there are a lot of honest people that have come looking for a better life, and unfortunately they are going to get, caught in that.
So is mass deportation a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it's a horrible idea. Absolutely horrible.
Not a good idea.
It's a bad idea.
It's a horrible idea.
Horrible. Horrible idea.
We definitely need help and solutions, but I don't really trust how he goes about anything.
I think it should be done on a case-by-case basis.
It depends on how it's executed. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I think it needs to be done with humanity.